We should let people feel their feelings, and we should stop forcing people to be optimistic. We should stop forcing people to put on a smiley face. When things suck, they should be allowed to be like, oh, that sucks. Because then they can learn to like, oh, you know what? I can have it suck, and I can not put on a smiley face, and I can still do the things that are in line with my values. The research would indicate that that would be more effective than trying to pretend like everything was wonderful every minute of every day.
Hey, fitness fans, welcome back to the Future of Fitness podcast and interview series. This is your host, Eric Malzone. This is episode number 58, and I'm already smiling. I haven't even said his name. His name is Josh Hillis. And the reason I'm smiling is because he's a really funny dude, and I really enjoyed this interview. I just went back and listened to it again. And not only is he funny, entertaining, and just extremely likable, but he brings the value. He brings it in this interview. He really shares a lot of insights into the world of nutrition. So who is Josh? That's probably what you're asking. He is the Chief People Officer for One by One Nutrition. He's also the author of Fat Loss Happens on Mondays, which was co-authored by Dan John. And the first time I came across Josh was at a summit, it's a Strength Matters Summit, I believe about 4 or 5 years ago. And when I started listening to him talk and his approach to nutrition and the way he treats people and his clients, completely shifted my paradigm when it came to how I incorporate nutrition into my fitness practice, whether it be individual, group, or whatnot. So before I get on to a little bit more about Josh, I have a very, very simple call to action for you guys today. And this is it. Take 30 seconds. If you have 30 seconds, please do it. If you like the show, if you like what we're doing, if you like the guests, if you like the interviews, go to iTunes and please give us a favorable review. That'd be amazing. And when you're done, go to YouTube, go to our YouTube channel, Future of Fitness, under the Fitness Marketing Alliance, and subscribe. That's it. It'll take 30 seconds. It doesn't cost you a dime. I would really appreciate it. So a little bit more about Josh. Josh is number one. He's done the work. He's done the work in the trenches. 10, 15 years in the industry of working with clients, sorting it out by failure after failure to success. So it's that great story of like, hey, it takes time to get this good at something, right? And I love this quote. This is a paraphrase on a paraphrase from this interview, but it's worth talking about. So our clients are only worse than us at probably one thing, and that's the thing that they come to us for. Everything else, they're probably better. And if you keep that mindset when you're talking to people, as fitness experts and fitness professionals, we tend to come from this stance of authority. Like, this is what you need to do. This is what you need. Now just do it, comply, right? Josh takes a completely different approach because he's studied the psychology of it, and he's gone through the clinicals, and he knows how people react to this type of nutrition consulting. And you know what? He gets results. That's all you need to know. He gets a ton of results. His clients are really happy. And, this is a tough place to be within the fitness industry, is in nutrition, especially people who are dealing with emotional eating and who have a lot of weight to lose. It's tricky, and you're always dealing with people, and we seem to forget that at times. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy this as much as I did. It was awesome. And it's number 58 with Josh Hillis. Everybody, welcome back to the Future of Fitness. This is Eric Malzone, and today I am with Josh Hillis. Josh,
hey, what's up? How's it going?
I'm excited because I've had the pleasure of watching you speak and present, and a lot of the points that you make in the world of nutrition and your different outlook on things has resonated with me over time. So maybe give our audience some of your background as to who you are and who you work with and what you do within the industry.
My name is Josh Hillis. I work with One by One Nutrition, who is Roland Fisher, and Georgie Fear, you may know as the author of Lean Habits, is one of my business partners. And we've got 3 amazing coaches, Kara, Mary Claire, and Sarah. I also wrote a book called Fat Loss Happens on Monday with Dan John, who is kind of like my mentor. Like, to have him as a co-author was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I started as a trainer in 2004, and really thought I was going to do like sports coaching and work with jiu-jitsu fighters. And I ended up slowly realizing that where I fit the best and where I had the most clients, where I made the biggest difference, was in weight loss. And so weight loss kind of took me from like a workout focus to like a diet focus, from a diet focus to like a nutrition habits focus. Which now is taking me towards our company. One of the cool things about working with George is all of a sudden I get exposed to like our average client now is dealing mostly with like, I shouldn't say mostly. We have a lot of clients that are dealing with emotional eating and stress eating. And so right now it isn't just weight loss, food habits and food skills. It's like weight loss, food habits and food skills for people that are emotional eating. And that's how I ended up here now. Which it's always funny to think back because it I didn't set out, in 2004 thinking like, oh yeah, that's what I'll be doing.
I'm gonna work with emotional eaters. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at the time I was like kettlebell swings.
Everyone wants to do kettlebell swings, right?
Uh-huh.
That's I think that's what everybody starts out with. Everyone, I mean, most fitness pros I know think like they're going to work with athletes or celebrities and things like that.
Yeah.
Kind of ping pong into a niche. I think what you do is one of the most challenging types of coaching, to be honest. I really do. I think it's I mean, you got to be willing to get in the weeds, right? And really someone's life, and so much of it is psychology. And tell our audience how you're different, like how your methods are different, and how they've kind of derived them.
Okay, so the thing that's kind of hilarious is I was taught to coach a certain way, and I was taught to coach this way. There was a personal growth program I used to coach, and I used to coach door-to-door salespeople. And I had some really lucky, like some phenomenally lucky mentors early on that taught me to coach in this like extraordinarily client-centered way, and this way of like guiding instead of directing. And probably, I guess like 4 or 5 years ago now, I ran into Stephen Ledbetter, Coach Steve-O, who was a friend of Dan Johns, and I think Dan actually sent my book to him and was like, is this good? Is this any good? Because Steve-O's got a background in master's in sports psych, and motivation is his jam. And he called me up and he's like, hey, these things you're doing. He's like, these things you're doing are motivational interviewing. And like, these things you're doing are self-determination theory. And you're like supporting people's basic psychological needs. That's like autonomy, and that's like competence support, and that's belonging support. And I was like, you can study this stuff? There's books on this? This is amazing. And so that kind of like jumped me forward a lot in terms of getting better at coaching food and like figuring out how to get in the weeds with people, because it is messy. And as long as I had that like framework to be like, okay, autonomy support, I'm trying to give people some choice about what they're doing. And I'm also trying to figure out, I'm trying to give them the space and the freedom to explore what matters to them, like what their values are. And then like competence support, I'm trying to let them know that they're getting better at these skills that they're actually really bad at, right? Like they're hiring me because they're really bad at them, but I want to give them experience of progress, right? I need to let them know in concrete ways that they're making actual progress. And then belonging is just letting them know that like they're normal to have these problems, right? And so that's all from self-determination theory, and that's all kind of like in these big, deep, messy conversations. As long as I have those three things as what I'm heading towards, like one of those at any given time, then people sort out a lot of the food stuff for themselves. I mean, also I give them a menu of food habits to work from. They're not like pulling stuff out of thin air. But that's what gives us that's the framework to go into those messy conversations.
Yeah. It was it dawned on me when I sat through your presentations, like, wow, he's actually giving people options and not just what to do, and then having them make decisions that they're engaged with. And that way, it was just it was so refreshing. I was like, oh, wow. And it was really applicable that something I could utilize the next day with you.
Yeah. And so if anyone's listening to this and they're like, what does that look like in real life? The 3-step coaching session works like this. How'd last week go? And they're like, oh, it went like this, or this was terrible, or this was good, or whatever. And like, okay, so, and then like, what insights do you have, or what did you notice? And like, we're basically just getting them to reflect. So how did last week go? Then I like to give people like 2, 3, 4 food skill options. I'm like, okay, based on what you said, here's some options for what we could work on next week. And it could be just working on the same skill again, right? But then that's where you give those people those options, and then they get to pick. And if they're having trouble picking, you get to have like an actual conversation about like why they might pick one or the other, which is like super educational and also empowering for them. And then you get to pick how much. And, because the assumption is always that you're going to practice every skill, every day, every meal, whatever. And you get to have a conversation about like, what would be moving forward? Would it be practicing 3 times a week? Would it be practicing, and I always come back to like, I tell people, I'm like, look, you can practice kettlebell swings 3 times a week and get better. Like as long as you're getting in reps, you can get better. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to do kettlebell swings 3 times a day, 7 days a week to get better, And they're like, oh wait, so I can practice with somebody else and I can still get better.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I if I'm listening to you right now, I'm wondering, well, how do you actually structure your business? I know you have a couple different revenue streams, but
yeah. How
has that evolved? How have you structured it, and what does it look like now?
So, how it evolved. I started off as a gym trainer, and then I went and did an internship at Results Fitness with Alan Cosgrove, and I was like, I'm doing an internship for free. How do I eat while I'm doing this internship? This was after like 10 years being a trainer. And I was like, I'm going to start an online coaching business. And so I started doing online coaching while I was doing that internship. And that went really well. Surprisingly, like to just like pull that out of, a little background. I've been writing on my blog for a decade previous.
Okay.
So I've built an email list of probably a lot of I had a lot of readers at that point. And so for me to just say like, I'm going to do a online coaching program, it wasn't like no one had ever heard of me before. I literally, like my first clients were like, oh yeah, I started reading your stuff 7 years ago. Right. So there was trust.
Yeah.
And so that helped. And then like I got the book deal, wrote the book, moved back to Colorado, bought a business, an in-person training business from one of my old clients, which is hilarious. And I was trying to do everything in the gym, ended up dabbling with some online coaching again based on the way that we all thought that was supposed to work at the time, which was we talked about before, was a little bit like, it was like super rigid, like do this skill and then do this skill and then do this skill. Or we were calling it habits at the time. Do this habit, then that habit. And it kind of worked a little bit, but not like we wanted. So still making most of my revenue from my in-person gym, for my gym. Oh, another thing to put in there, you're asking about revenue streams. Book royalties, obviously. But I've always had revenue from, like my first ebook came out in 2005.
Okay. And
that was probably 20% of my income for like 4 years. And then I had another one that bombed completely, and another one that did well. And it's like I've always sold writing in one way or another. And then right after Fat Loss Habits on Monday came out, Lean Habits came out with Georgie. We both ended up speaking at the same conference. After like 10 minutes of hanging out, we're best friends ever. And after we both spoke at that conference, literally we're hanging out. We've known each other for like less than a day. People came up to us and were like, hey, do you guys have a mentorship for trainers? And we're like, we're like, you're pretty cool. Like, this is kind of rad. Should we try that and see what happens? And we did, which like, for as many things as I've done in my life that have completely crashed and burned and failed, I've had 3 businesses where I lost way more than everything I had. I've had so many. I've had ebooks that crash and burn. To have this thing where a bunch of people just like showed up and were like, "Hey, could you guys like create this revenue stream? Could you guys create a mentorship?" And we did, and people loved it, and it's kind of always in the background, but that turned into us like, hey, what if we did everything together, and what if we combine our businesses? And now I'm backing out of the gym. Their business was all phone coaching. I've moved into phone coaching, which I totally love. And so we do mostly phone coaching. I still have some gym clients. I still rent space at this like dungeon underground gym. And I still have like 10-ish gym clients, and we've got our phone coaching clients, but like a lot of my time is writing stuff for our group coaching that is now starting to finally work after many years of failing.
Yeah. I love, one of the things that is unique about you, and I think maybe why it makes you really good at the particular field that you've gone into, which is the nutrition coaching, especially for emotional eaters, is that you just seem so darn approachable and just like non-judgmental and, and things like that. Is that something you foster over time, or is that just naturally who you are? I mean,
it's something that I probably always wanted to be part of who I was, but I had to get that's a funny question, because a lot of it was me getting out of my own way. Like if you'd met me, more than a decade ago, I would have spent most of my time trying to be funny and make you like me and look impressive and like all these things that would actually get in the way of like actually like connecting with people and being approachable and being safe to be with and like that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I took a couple really, really, really intense courses where I basically got like counseling skills, like where I was coaching people on the phone with someone listening, being like then get off the phone. They'd be like, why did he say that? Like, why did he say that? Why weren't you listening?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then why did he say that? Like, do you get that could be kind of judgmental? Oh, that would. Like, you just made someone feel bad. Oh. Yeah. So it feels very natural to me now but I mean, like, I probably like really intensely spent 5 years working on that. And I've had some like really good, like when I did the internship at Results Fitness, it was really simple. Like I was on the floor and they'd be like, why did you say that? Why did you do that? Why did you, and like having someone look over my shoulder and, Mike Wunsch put it really, really, really well. He's like, our clients are only worse than us at one thing, and they're probably better than us at everything else. And I was like,
oh, that's more time, because that is magical.
It was something to the effect of our clients are probably only worse than us at one thing, and they're probably better than us at everything else. It's like they've got great businesses, they've got great families, they've got great, they're pillars of their community. I mean, like, and it is one of those things where like I try and remember it's not hard for me to relate to being bad at things, because I've failed. I've had so many disasters in my life. It isn't hard for me to be like, oh, I get what it's like to like not know what to do. I get what it's like to have something seem really mysterious, or to have like way too much information and be really confused. I get all of that. And the fact that that's not that for me, for fitness, for food coaching is like, and also I try and bring them back to stuff that was hard for them that they learned. I'm like, hey, do you have kids? Are they learning to play an instrument for the first time?
Yeah.
What's that like? So anyway, I'm always trying to look at things that are hard, things that were hard for me or things that I failed at. I'm trying to look at things that were hard for them in the past and how they approach that. And mostly our clients don't come in approaching food the way they've approached anything else in their life that they've ever been bad at. And like, if I really want to go on a rant, like I feel like most of the fitness industry has this like super moral superiority over like nutrition and fitness, where I'm like, there's a lot of things in life, clients are probably good at some.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I always noticed, too, and I don't train people anymore.
Yeah.
But whenever, I'd be in a social interaction or something like that, people are like, you're drinking a beer?
Right.
Like, yeah, I have a lot of problems. Like, I am not perfect. I just have to get them on the floor.
Right.
Yeah. So what you said really resonates. And I think it's something that probably if people hear it as a fitness professional should give them some ease, especially hear someone, who out from the outside, right? You have a book, you have a blog, you have multiple revenue streams. To hear you talk about how many failures you've had along the way.
Oh, yeah.
Is actually deeply comforting in some way. I mean,
totally.
I think that's a big deal.
Well, yeah. Oh man, like let's all be human. Let's all realize that we're all humans and mess up a bunch. And it's funny. Like one of the easiest ways to look at that is like for most trainers, business is like businesses to trainers what like nutrition is to clients. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of trainers really struggle with like, how do I make all this stuff work? And it's mysterious. And here's all this computer information and I'm too busy and I'm right.
Yeah.
I think it should be easier for people to like, be like, hey, look.
Yeah. I mean, how long have you been in the industry?
2004.
2004. So yeah.
But
wow.
But also I coached door-to-door salespeople for like 4 years before that.
Right.
And like, even when I was new, I wasn't new to coaching.
Yeah. So before we were recording, we talked about a couple things that you think that the fitness industry could do better at or could focus on. Give us some insight. Give us some nuggets on that.
Okay. So the biggest one comes from a self-determination theory perspective. And that's that we should support people's basic psychological needs for autonomy, which autonomy could be looked at as choice or direction, or it could be looked at as meaning, as like what matters to you, what's valuable to you. Competence, which we actually do a pretty good job of in the gym. We don't necessarily always do a really good job of that on food. And then belonging, which is mostly normalizing. And normalizing, what that means is when people come to us with struggles, we let them know that those struggles are normal. Most of our clients, especially when it comes to food, they really have this perspective like they're the only ones that are like broken or struggling with that, or like they should be able to get over willpower or whatever. So really like those three things are the conditions that allow people to motivate themselves. And so from a really practical standpoint, autonomy is giving people like, hey, here's 3 food skills that I think would make a difference. Which one do you think would make a difference? How much do you want to practice that this week? But also, listening for like there's really practical ways to do like values exercises. Like here's a list of values, circle 3 that matter to you, right?
Right.
But there's also just like listening for, your kids really matter to you, and your career matters to you, and this friend matters to you. Like I'm always listening for that, and I always bring that back. I mean, okay, literally, I had a client 2 days ago that her sister like tripped and fell and like broke her hand, and she took her sister to the emergency room instead of coming to training. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry I didn't come to training. And I'm like, this is what's wrong with the industry. I'm like, if you came to training instead of taking care of your sister who fell over who broke her hand, then that would be weird, right? And that's like kind of an extreme example, but that shows up all the time. Yeah. And I want to be like, no, you know what? That charity that you volunteered for that like gives you your life, that's okay for that to be a bigger priority than your fitness sometimes. And maybe we want to be finding the balance between those two. So that's like, I'm always listening for like what really matters to them. And that's the autonomy piece. The competence piece, they really are bad at these things when they come in, but we want to give them we can't give them the experience of being masters at it because they're not. But we really do want to give them the experience of making progress. And what that comes down to is specific positive feedback. Non-specific feedback is the worst thing ever. I mean, it's not the worst. Like, good job is fine. But like, if I give them specific feedback, like, hey, you did this 4 times last week and you did this 6 times this week, that's cool. Or, hey, you know what, in the past, you really got thrown when your boss yelled at you and this time you didn't. That specificity makes it real. Like, oh, I really am making progress.
Yeah.
And so that's the competent support. And the last one, the belonging, the normalizing is probably the biggest place that I see trainers screw up. Trainers act like have so much more willpower. So like I've seen trainers, I used to work at a big box gym and I'd watch their trainers coach food. And some of them client would come and be like, oh man, I was so tired after work last night. I just got Taco Bell. And trainer would like make a face you know, if you can normalize that and be like, oh, you know what? Like, everyone gets tired sometimes and wants like a faster, easier solution. That's not just you.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But like from there, you can actually make changes from what did you do? Like there's no, you know, so that's the base level of things that I would like to see show up in our industry. The other thing is maybe like a slightly bigger topic, but that we should let people feel their feelings and we should stop forcing people to be optimistic and we should stop forcing people to put on a smiley face. We should let them, when things suck, they should be allowed to be like, oh, that sucks. Because then they can learn to like, oh, you know what? I can have it suck and I can not put on a smiley face and I can still do the things that are in line with my values. And that's, the research would indicate that would be more effective than trying to pretend like everything was wonderful every minute of every day.
Yeah. Yeah. That's powerful, man. It really is. I mean, it's so true. And it's, I mean, from being a trainer too, you always feel, every time you get out on the floor, every time you start working with a client, that you have to be the most optimistic person in the world. And
right.
So when you're like, you know, some of the best meetings I have, like, you know what, I'm some shitty stuff happened and I'm human and I'm here. So right. I'm going to do it anyway, but I just want to let you know. And I think it's both ways. I think, because people sense it when you're, you know, if you're faking it all the time,
totally
they appreciate the effort, but there's something to be said for that too.
Yeah. For being human.
Yeah. Just vote for everyone just being human, right? Let's just be
right.
human and more honest and more authentic and
yeah. Which I mean, like when I say be a human, it sounds like so trite, right? But the reality is we really do have this sort of like persistent conversation in our industry that everyone has to be superhuman. Yeah.
Yeah. So Josh, what's up with you now? What are you doing now? I know you've got a lot of things going on, but where do you see yourself evolving in the next few years?
Ooh, oh man, that's a great question. So one of the coolest things for me in the world is getting to work with One by One Nutrition and getting to have like I lone wolfed it for so long. Although I had kind of like this like light bulb experience when I did my book, right? So doing the book with On Target Publications, Dan John helped me sort out what content to do and like what to throw away. Larry edited it, had me like rewrite it like 5 times. There are people that did like there were people that did the layout and did the, you know, and like all that costs, you know, percentages and money and things like that. And it ended up with a better product. And I really realized, I mean, I ended up working with George and Roland really through no intelligence of my own. It was like such dumb luck that we happened to come together in that way. But I did have this thing in the back of my head, like, hey, wait, working with other people is like, I can do so much better work with help.
Yeah. And
having like business partners and having coaches that work for us. And now we're hiring consultants. And I keep seeing like that the bigger the team is, the better we do. And so where I want to go is I want to spend more time managing how those teams come together and making sure we have the right people in the right roles, and like seeing when people are doing things because they feel like they're supposed to, and like there's always like crap that like it isn't like the funnest part of the job, but just realizing that like, hey, there's some things that different people are good at that that they can bring more to, and maybe other people can shore up those things, and like there's stuff that maybe none of us have time to learn that I just want to like hire someone to consult. Yeah. And all these things are like are in a way like kind of like big luxuries, but they're all supported by the fact that we do have a good phone coaching business, and we're good at that. We've got clients that brings in revenue. But where I want to go is I want to go towards like more towards I was self-employed for so long. Like I was all by myself. I want to go more towards being a business owner, more towards like in reality, I'm learning how to delegate. I'm learning how to say like, hey, this project is you got it. And I actually don't even want to hear about it. Right? Yeah. Like you're really smart and I trust you. Yeah. And if you need help, then maybe I can help, or maybe this other consultant that we have that's like helping us with our content strategy. Yeah. Maybe it's her, not even me. And maybe you guys have a call and I'll just see it all, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's all really new to me. And that's, and I think I'm getting better, and I'm talking to a lot of other friends that are business owners or even people that are corporate managers to get better at that. And to me, that's really exciting. Yeah. And so I feel like we're doing better work with better teams and hiring experts. That's where my main business is going. And then with school, I'm structuring so I went back to school for psychology for anyone that doesn't know, and I'm going part-time. And the funny thing about going back at 40 is that like I'm making friends with all my professors, and like I'm getting some like unique opportunities, and people are like, you could work it like this and you could work it like that. And I'm setting up a lot of my classes to do research reviews around like contextual behavioral science for weight loss. And so it's directly informing like our program development, and it's directly informing probably a couple books that are going to come out. And that's what my next 5 years looks like. I'm still going to be in school in 5 years, getting my bachelor's. Awesome. But what's cool is all along the way, it's becoming very useful. And my professors are so stoked to have someone that's such a nerd. Like my staff professor is like, what data are you collecting on your clients? And like, she's going to help us actually like survey our clients and get data and put that together in meaningful ways that isn't skewed, that isn't biased, that is, and I had a positive psychology teacher that did research with one of my, Kelly Wilson is like one of my favorite acceptance commitment therapy researchers. And so like getting to like nerd out with them and have that inform everything I'm doing is really cool. That's a really long answer.
Yeah, you make me want to go back to school. It's like a great experience. I'm like, I don't remember school like that at all.
It's different now.
Yeah, I bet it would be, because you want to be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So where do people find you, Josh? What's the best place for people to go? Well, your book, first of all, right?
Yeah, book Fat Loss Happens on Monday. You can find it on Amazon. Mm-hmm. It's really good. One by One Nutrition is our home on the web. That's where we publish all of our content, not just from me, but also from Georgie, who's also a genius. She's a registered dietitian, and her research interest is kind of like physiological triggers for hunger and fullness, and like getting back in touch with. So like, she's got some really cool articles on there. All of the lessons that we created for our clients, like everything we've ever written, video and everything like that, we actually now give away for free. So if people want literally everything we do with clients, we give that away for free there under the DIY tab, which is a new thing we're trying out. our assumption is that like if people have the money for coaching, they'll probably read that and be like, this is awesome. I want to hire you as a coach. And if people don't, then they should like not be stuck with the other drivel that's floating around in the industry. So onebyOneNutrition.com, that's where all the stuff is. Awesome. I still do a little bit of writing. I still try to. I love writing about celebrity fitness because I just like, I think it's fascinating. And so I still write about that a little bit at loosestonerfat.com when I have time.
Awesome. Well, if you look at the real, like in a macro sense of the challenges that our society faces with obesity and all of the, a range of illnesses that come from that. I'm glad there's people like you. So, thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for, forging and taking that particular segment in the population and working with them and then teaching people how to do it because it's really important. So thank you for that, man. I really
thank you so much.
We all appreciate it. And thanks for coming on the show.
Sure, dude. Thanks. This was fun.
Right on. Everybody, Josh Hillis, the man.
See ya.
Hey, fitness fans, don't leave yet. This is your host, Eric Malzone, and I want to personally thank you for your support and listening to the Future of Fitness podcast and interview series. If you have a few minutes, I would greatly appreciate if you went to iTunes and gave us a favorable rating, as well as go to our YouTube channel and subscribe there. That'd be fantastic. If you know of anybody who'd be a great fit for this show as a guest, please hit me up at eric@fitnessmarketingalliance.com. That's Eric with a C. Also, I have 3 questions for you. Number 1, are you a fitness professional who's been in the industry for over 7 years? Question number 2, do you have an online revenue stream or multiple online revenue streams? Question number 3, are you ready to break loose from your local market and take advantage of all of the opportunity out there in the online world? If you are, I want you to go to fitnessmarketingalliance.com/mastermind. This will lead you to our Level Up Mastermind group and all the information that you need to know. This is a group for high-level thinkers within the industry who are ready to break free. So go check it out. It's fitnessmarketingalliance.com/mastermind. Let us know if you have any questions. Thank you again for listening. I greatly appreciate your support. We'll keep it up from our end as well.